Hi, Joe Cerrone. Welcome to CAD 230, Introduction to SolidWorks, and our weekly Zoom classroom meeting. All right, so as we take a look at how things are progressing, Module 6 is due on the 19th at 11:59, and I released that last week. Module 6 is on part configurations from Chapter 8. And so we have these three parts that you are to create the different parts and the different configurations, and then turn those into the assignment folder. In the main splash page, I put the midterm practice exam. The midterm practice exam is available right now, and we're going to use Honor Lock when we take the midterm exam. And so the midterm practice exam will get you used to being able to create the part models and to be able to analyze those. And then when we do the midterm exam, we'll be using a program called Honor Lock. And Honor Lock is a proctoring software. And so if you go to honorlock.com, and I'll put this in the announcements, basically what you need is a photo identification, like a card that you hold in front of the webcam so that they can verify your identity. And you need to use Chrome when you take the exam because that's what they recommend you use for it. And you just will go over to the home page and you'll go under quizzes and exams, and we'll have the midterm exam, and it'll be available. You just click on the midterm exam and you'll be able to then, so it's like the final exam. And what it'll do is it'll go into the Honor Lock portal, and then the webcam records the session. So keep that in mind for next week. I've made the midterm exam due on November 2nd. It should be due on the 31st, but since it's a holiday and everybody has kids, not everybody, but a lot of people have kids, might as well go out and enjoy the Halloween holiday, give you a couple extra days to get that done. Not to say you can't do it early and get it out of the way, but I hate having things due on holidays, and so I pushed that back a couple of days. As we look at the way that the midterm practice exam will work, is that under quizzes and exams, and I'm going to get out of the student, under quizzes and exams, you go to the midterm practice exam, and I'm just going to edit it. And so basically it's questions from the end of the chapters. Questions like, to open a new sketch, you must first select the plane from the feature manager tree. True or false? Geometric relations can be used in the assembly environment. True or false? The current status of a sketch is displayed in the lower right-hand corner of the screen as underdefined, fully defined, or overdefined. And so there's a lot of questions here. As you go through and you look at them, I believe I have 92 questions, and the midterm will use most of those questions. They'll be the same questions, but I don't believe we'll have 92 questions. I think it's more like 52. So you can take the midterm practice exam as many times as you want, unlimited attempts, and it'll be auto-graded. You can kind of see how you're doing with it. If you find that you're not getting the information, just email me and let me know, and I'll see if there's any glitches with it. All right, back to the main splash page. So that's part one. You need to take the multiple choice midterm practice exam because it'll get you ready for the midterm exam. It's not scored. I'm not going to put it in as a grade. So I guess to say you have to take it isn't really true. You should take it if you want to be ready for it. And then if I come back here and view as a student, when we look at the content for the midterm practice exam, basic part modeling. And so what they'll do is they'll give you these part models with A and B so that they can change them units of measurements would be inches on this, and so A is 3.3 and B is 2.0. And then we'll carry out the drawing and the sketch according to the requirements. And then the material selection will be given, and based on the material selection, we'll be able to get the mass properties. And so I've downloaded this sheet right here. It's called Midterm, Practice Midterm Exam, and it looks like this, and it will be these 6 CAD models. And then as we take a look at it, I basically took this old CSWA exam. CSWA means Certified SolidWorks Associate Exam. And I'll give you a voucher to take the exam. There's also a practice exam for it. And this will be at the end of the class. If you want to get SolidWorks certified, you can do that. You don't have to. You can just take my regular final exam. But the time starts going by really quickly as we get to the midterm and then into November in a couple of weeks. And so what we do is we create the part model. Be sure to keep an eye where the origin is when you create these models. And then we would create the sketch 2 inches by 3.3 with the other applications as shown. The answers are given, okay, within this document. And so as you look at the answer for it, it tells me that the mass will be 0.84 pounds. And so if I come back here to my drawing of that part, and here it is, and I look at my sketch, and it seems to be giving me a glitch. I'm not sure why it's giving me a glitch. But if I were to check out my sketch, I'd be able to see that I have the dimensions according to that configuration. And then what I'm able to do is go under the Evaluate tool and select Mass Properties and generate the mass properties for that. And I think what I'm going to do, let me pause this video. And that doesn't seem to be working either, so I'm just going to continue to run with it. But what I'm able to do then is go to the mass properties and calculate that. And so I'm going to say don't save and just restart my SolidWorks. All right, let's start SolidWorks up again. There we go. And so I can see the size of the part. It's 2 inches by 3.3. If I go through and hit the space bar and I go normal 2, I basically created the sketch according to the dimensions. And then once I have that sketch created, I can go through and finish that sketch. And then I can go through and I can assign the material here. And so I can edit my material here. My material is an aluminum alloy. It's 2014. And then once I have the material assigned to it, I can go and calculate the mass properties. And it tells me that it's 0.84 pounds. All right, so let's see if I can, I'm not sure why it's not giving me my complete the sketch. So I'm going to just close it out and don't save it. And then I'll open up some of the other ones that I had. Here's the next one. You can write on the part itself. Sometimes I like to do that. or you can write them on a piece of paper when you turn in, like on a notepad account, mass equals this, or submit that. But you are going to want to put the mass calculation on that. And again, we just go through and we create the part according to the sketch features. And then once we have those sketch features created, we go through and apply and create the boss extrude for that part. And then as we go through, if I bring this back, there we are. And then we can bring it down a little farther. Here's our cut. Shouldn't be too hard for you guys. You guys have done much harder work. And then once we have that part, what we do is we go to the materials, and I can edit the material. And basically, this one is going to be under copper alloys, brass. Sometimes you have to fish around a little bit for the material within the materials selection for those different materials. But again, once we have the part modeled and the material assigned, we go to mass properties, and then it'll tell me the mass of this one is 1101.18 grams. And then if I come back to the material for the next one, and they walk you through it. It's a brass material. Here's the first sketch, next sketch. And then once we have the part modeled, 1105.00 grams. And so mine's just slightly off, but it's close enough as we go into it that if actually it is correct. It's 1105, so I'm right on there. Let me take a look and see. And apparently, maybe I'm a little bit off because it's 1101. And so that does happen, but typically the questions are multiple choice for the multiple choice solutions, and I think you'll be fine with those. And then as we look at the next part, we create this model right here. If I bring the Wayback Machine back here, hopefully doesn't seem to want to do it. It's been one of those days with my computer. But again, I have the 1061 alloy applied to this one. And so it's a 1061 alloy. And then once I have the part modeled, I can go through and calculate out the mass. And then we have two other ones. Here's D. And again, we model the part, assign the material, and then calculate out the mass. And then lastly, as we go through, we can create this part, assign the material, and then be able to go under mass properties and calculate out our mass. And as I talked about before, the mass calculations are given in this tutorial guide. This is an older one. I like using the older ones. I find that they work really well for our purposes in a beginning level SolidWorks class. And so this one, you'll model it based off of the center, off of a center line, and then be able to assign the mass and the materials for that material. And if you're into it, go ahead and do the other parts, because you'll probably see some of these other parts on the midterm exam. I'm not going to use the exact same ones. I might use one or two from the midterm practice guide, but I'm not going to commit myself to it. So as you take a look at the midterm practice exam, the midterm practice exam is two parts. First part is going to be the multiple choice questions in the exam. And then the second part will be the drawings. And it's based on the way that we would do the CSWA exam. And then back to the main splash page. As we look at the outline of topics, the midterm multiple choice exam will be available next week at 6 p.m. and then you have a week and 2 days to turn that in. I will hold a Zoom meeting next week to answer any questions for anybody who has any questions about the midterm exam, and we'll kick off the midterm exam. And I'll be monitoring online in case anybody has any difficulty with the HonorLock web proctoring website. Remember, when you're using HonorLock, you're going to use Chrome as your browser. You can go to honorlock.com and watch the video on how that works. There is a charge for the test. I recommend you pay for I think it's either $7 per test or $11 for unlimited testing in the semester. And we will be using this twice, so you get a better deal by using the $11 proctoring price, because you'll need this for the final exam as well. And then people are doing really quite well on the exams. I found that everybody's on task. The course is running like clockwork. And what we want to do is we want to be able to get ourselves an industry certification. And so at the end of the semester, when we do the final exam, we'll have things that are a little bit more rigorous. If you look into some of the later chapters of the textbook, I believe it's chapter 20 and 21, you'll see that they have a CSWA exam prep chapter, which will take you through the models that you need to create and the assemblies that you need to create. All right, so that's our Zoom meeting for today. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to post the recording and open things up for questions.